This is Mountain Vision. Welcome to the Wildcats Football Coaches Show, your home for all things Flint River football, with Wildcats head coach Josh Dare and your host David Carden.
Let's go!
Welcome to the Flint River Wildcat Coaches Show with head coach Josh Dare. I'm your host David Carden. The Wildcats are coming off their first victory of the season, a 28-7 victory at home against the Skipstone Warriors. Coach, it's got to be great to get that first victory of the season.
It is, absolutely. We played much better. Still a lot of things we got to get better at, but we did see a bunch of improvements from last week and things that we worked on and things that we saw improvements on. So it was really nice for the kids to get a victory.
Yeah, they looked like they played a little better. Some of those miscues and mistakes we had talked about in the first couple of shows, that y'all kind of got those figured out, straightened out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was definitely more space for us to run in the middle. We rushed for 197 yards. So I think, Brett Williamson and James Murphy were both right at 100 yards. And, that's Parker Williams had a 60-yard touchdown run get called back. It's kind of a questionable call. So, we're very easily could have been 350 plus for rushing. Offensive line did much better this week. We were getting more 4- and 5-yard carries. We're still missing those 10- and 12-yard carries. We're still in second and third down a lot. They did a much better job this week of going to the right person. Now we just got to coach them up on keeping their angles. Our blocking scheme's designed to give our quick guys an angle just to cut everybody off. And a lot of times when we're pursuing our block, our offensive linemen take the angle away. So then now it's easier for that defensive guy to just kind of slide off the block. That's something we'll touch on this week, is keeping that angle so that we got that hole there a little bit longer. So, but yeah, very very happy with the performance. Defense played great. It was a great win. We got a turnover on special teams. We got a defensive touchdown, and rushed for close to 200 yards. Threw for 100 yards. We total offense was 300 yards this week. So, much better. And that was also, it's not like we weren't playing a good team. These guys were still big. They had a lot of athletes all over the field. They were fast. So, I was really proud of the kids. It was a good victory for us.
Yeah, they put a lot of effort out there into that one.
They did.
Early on in the first quarter, Skipstone was punting out their own end zone, and wasn't the best snap back to the punter. Kind of, slowed everything down.
Right.
And Dalton Bone was able to get back there. Kind of got pushed into the punter a little. Got the roughing the punter call.
Yeah.
But then you and Skipstone's coach had some words. Was that?
Yeah. He came across midfield and started basically saying that he was asking if we're just dirty players and do they need to go ahead and leave. And I didn't like that, because no coach wants to hear another coach say that, especially a guy. We've never played them. They've never played us. They don't know that we play by the rules. We do what we're supposed to do. We play hard. And then on top of that, the official walked over and he said, well, the Flint River guy got pushed into the punter. He got blocked into him. And then the coach kind of settled down at that point. But you don't walk across midfield and start accusing people of playing dirty.
Especially that early in the game.
Right. It was like the fourth play of the game. So.
Yeah. It seems like when y'all getting the ball to Murphy on those jet sweeps, he gets that edge. It seems like almost every time.
Yeah, he does a great job when he's full speed around the edge running that jet speed. He's really tough to stop. We ran it for a touchdown in the second quarter. We ran it to Luke Hardaway, and Luke sealed the edge immediately, and that's why it's so easy to get out there. He reached his guy and got his guy going in. And then William Quinlan came out and made a good block on the safety coming down. And then Jacob Chester made a great block on the corner. So it was a lot like last week versus Trinity, where it's just like you draw it up and it works perfect. And then it's how they ran it again this week. We were in trips, and we were in our hurry up. We had 2 minutes to go in the half. So we had driven the ball down the field and pass, and they backed up. And we were on the right hash, and some of the coaches from upstairs said, run jet. We got a lot of room over here. So we ran jet, and it worked perfect. So it was a good play.
Yeah, y'all had one that he ran earlier in that first quarter, and he got around the edge maybe 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. Yeah. And then a Skipstone defender came up from behind and knocked it out.
Yeah, well, he's shifty. And it's really tough to be shifty and remember to take care of the ball, you know, because if you watch that play, that's one of the plays that we didn't really block it great. There were guys in the backfield, so he just had to improvise, and he did. He did a great job, and that's why we like him so much with the ball in his hands. You know, they got 3 defensive linemen in the backfield. Well, he just sprints to the edge and gets around the edge. Well, when you sprint to the edge, that gives the secondary and linebackers time to flow over the top. So when he got to the edge, now he had to continue making moves. And then he got past them and got up to the next level, and 30 yards downfield, he's having to make another move on somebody. And he just got a little loose with the ball. But, you know, it happens, you know. So it's an effort play. You know, when he's putting out that much effort to try to make a play for the team and something like that happens, it is what it is. You know, that happens in sports. So.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned the interception Parker Williams had.
Mm-hmm.
Took it back for the touchdown. But it looks like y'all got hands on a lot of balls this week.
Yeah.
Y'all tipped a lot of passes.
Yeah, our defensive line played great. You know, they slanted well. They controlled their gaps well. We had a bunch of, I think we had 3 or 4 sacks. We had a bunch of tackles in the backfield. You know, they ran a screen pass earlier that looked like it was going to be a good play, and Luke Hardaway got a hand on the screen. We preach a lot not to get upfield. You know, we don't want that. We don't want our defensive line running into the backfield every play, because that really sets up a bunch of holes in your defense, and we don't want that. So we teach them, you know, get to heel depth of the offensive lineman, stay there. If you get a pass read, then go get the quarterback. So, but we also teach them get to heel depth, and if you see a high ball, or they're going to throw it quick, well, now let's try to get our hands up, because we're not going to get to the quarterback. So they did a real good job of that, and our linebacker play again this week was wonderful. Linebackers made a bunch of one-on-one tackles where they didn't fall forward. Secondary play was good. We got burnt one time, but luckily they dropped it.
Yeah, that was but Salvador got kind of over the top, hit him in his hands, and he just let it go.
He ran a slant and go, and we had Chase Lewis at corner, and this is, you know, his 3rd game ever playing, and they ran that slant, and he bit down on the slant. The safety bit down on the slant, and then he just split the seam right between them. So they got to understand, you know, teams at this level, if they want to throw that 5-yard stuff, we're going to give it to them.
Let them.
Right, because not a lot of teams are going to be able to just do it consistently. You know, if you saw, they threw a lot of slants and a lot of hitches that dropped or were overthrown, thrown in the ground, and it's just, you know, it's tough to do with our offensive line, our defensive line when they get their hands up. So we just got to get better not biting on that big stuff, on the short stuff. You know, just make sure we don't give them big plays.
Yeah, it looked like they threw it a lot, like you said, on those little short passes.
Yeah,
but weren't very successful.
Right.
Looked like y'all tried to throw the ball a little more this week.
Well, we love our passing game. You know, we love the ball. We love Parker with the ball. You know, he's a great decision maker again. But you know, early on we had to. They were mixing up their front a good bit. So we huddled, and so when you huddle and call a play, when they come out and they've changed the front, there's nothing you can do about it then. So they did that a good bit to us, and you know, it caught us early. You know, in the first quarter, we had a first half really. We had a tough time moving the ball on the ground. I think we only rushed for about 70 yards in the first half, and then in the second half, we came out more of a power set. We put Murphy at quarterback and just snapped it straight to him and let him follow William Quinlan and Brett Williamson one way, and that seemed to work better. But it's you know, it's like we talked about. The linemen are getting to the guys. Now we just got to get it to where we're sealing them, you know, and that's what happened a lot in the first half or the first quarter really. We were getting to the guy, but we were blocking them straight up. Well, then all that guy's got to do is slide off and make the tackle, right, opposed to getting in between your guy in the hole to where he's got to go through you to make the tackle. And nobody's going to tackle Brett Williamson reaching out with one arm, you know.
No, they're not.
So I mean, we just got to do a better job of making sure we're blocking and protecting the hole a little bit better.
Yeah, it seemed like y'all had Williamson and Murphy in the backfield together a little more this past week too.
We did. That's something we put in this week, just so that we could run plays where we're handing it to Murphy and we got Brett blocking a little bit more and following him, and we put a tight end in the game just to get an extra blocker in there. So it's just little things we changed up. We put in the option a little bit. So you know, we really liked it, especially for the first week. For the first week running it, we thought they did a really good job. We just got to keep getting better at it. So.
Yeah. So you used Williamson as a blocker for Murphy, and then maybe fake it to Murphy and let Williamson go with it too.
Right. We like Williamson to run in between the tackles. You know, if we run something up the middle, we want to let him take off with it.
Yeah.
He's a bigger guy, hard to bring down, hard to hurt. You know, so you know, when he's hitting a linebacker, he's hitting a linebacker that's his size. You know, when Murphy's hitting a linebacker, he's much
a little smaller.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're just, you know, we got to keep him healthy for the long run. You know, and you know, when we get in the playoffs and everything, we'll probably run Murphy up the middle a little bit more because if he hits it in a straight line, he's gone.
Right. Turn on those jets and just.
Right. So.
You were talking about the first half. You got kind of aggressive there at the end of the first half, looking to score some points going into halftime. Was that something y'all were talking about going into the game?
Well, no. You know, going into the game, we wanted to run the football, and we wanted to figure out our in-between tackles running game. And like I said, they did a great job in the first half of mixing up their looks and pretty much held us in check. You know, we didn't score. The only touchdown we scored was a defensive touchdown until we went hurry up with 2 minutes to go.
Right.
So at that point, we just, you know, we wanted to get some points on the board going into half. So we put the ball in Parker's hands and got in our spread and hurry up, and we're successful. You know, we marched right down the field, scored. Then we came back and we just did a little squib kick that bounced off one of their guys. We recovered it, got back into our hurry up, marched right back down the field and scored again. So it was you know, kids executed it well. So
The squib kick, then, that wasn't intentionally trying to get the ball back. That was trying to just take some time off the clock.
We everybody puts somebody on their kickoff team that they're kind of nervous about. So we like to try to find that guy and kick it right at him as hard as we can on the ground, and hopefully good things happen. So, you know, 2 out of the first 3 games we recovered an onside. We got one against Heritage and then got one against Skipstone this week. So it's something that we like to do, especially with their athletes. You know, they had athletes. You know, they were fast, so we didn't want to kick it deep and give them a big return. You know,
give them any kind of shot at getting a return.
There's not many head coaches that breathe well during kickoff. You know, you see that ball traveling and you're like, somebody get them. So it's just it's a safe play. You give them good field position, but you know, there's a lot of times kickoffs in this league get taken back. So.
Welcome back to the Flint River Wildcat Coaches Show. I'm David Carden, joined by head coach Josh Dare. Coach Dare, y'all executed very well in the first half, very few miscues or penalties. The second half didn't look as clean.
Yeah, it wasn't. We had 2 touchdowns called back. We were in the red zone at one point. We were inside the 5 at one point and had a holding penalty on a receiver, brought it back. Then we went back into the red zone, back inside the 10, and then had a holding penalty on one of our running backs. So next thing you know, it's 4th and goal from the 15. So that's something we definitely got to clean up. Then on the, you know, Parker Williams had a 65-yard run called back because of a face mask. So it's a little bit of cleaning up and a little bit of just unfortunate. You know, we had on the option run, Parker fakes it to Brett and comes around the corner, and William Quinlan gets out in front of him and blocks for him. Well, a shorter, smaller guy comes running up to make the play, and William blocks him, and his hand rubs across his face mask, and they throw the flag. So kind of questionable, but it is what it is. We wish that it wouldn't have been called. We don't really think that it was that big of a penalty or like he was doing it intentionally. So it's just one of those things. But definitely something we got to clean. We had 95 yards of penalties. 95 yards of penalties. And like I said, you know, one of those neglects a 65-yard touchdown. One of them takes a score off the board because then we have to end up trying a field goal that we missed. So, you know, score was 28-7, but it could have very easily been 42-7, 49-7. So they played good. We just got to definitely clean that up against a much better opponent. That's the kind of things that will lose you a game. So
you mentioned the missed field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the only, that and bad snap on a punt, probably the only issues in the kicking game.
Yep.
But Murphy was able to hit all 4 extra points.
He was. Yep. Yeah, he did. He did great this week for us. That's those extra points are huge. And you know, the first 2 games, we lined up in the middle of the field to take his extra points, and we figured out that he likes to be a little off center to the left because he tends to kick it a little to the right. So this week we got it over to the left side of the field and got to kick it. And you know, there was a couple that barely snuck inside that pole. So he's got it going. So you know, Luke's doing a great job snapping, and Parker's doing a great job holding it. So, because there were a couple bad snaps that Parker had to get off the ground and put on the tee, and we still made the field goal. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I noticed that y'all use the tee for the field goals or the extra points. Is that something all teams do, or is that something just y'all do?
No, all teams do.
Okay.
Actually, some teams choose not to. If you got a really good kicker who is maybe kind of a college-style kicker, some of the college would like to see him kick without the tee to see because you can't use one in college.
Right.
We've played teams in the past that never used one, but we're going to because it gets it up in the air a little higher and
Just gives a little better opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
The bad snap on the punt.
Yep.
Got back behind Murphy. He went back, tracked it down, and looked like he was looking upfield, maybe trying to find somebody open to get it to and not lose all that yardage.
Well, what happened was, the ball was low, and it's like in baseball when you're fielding a ground ball. Sometimes it'll pop up on you. Well, the ball was tumbling to him, so he kept waiting for that ball to come up, and it just stayed down, and it went right in between his legs, and he kind of came up with it just a hair, expecting it to bounce up like an onside kick. And it never did, so it stayed down. He went back, did a good job not freaking out, just got the ball, and then just got his eyes upfield. He was probably trying to see if he could kick it downfield, just get rid of it. But when he turned around, there were people everywhere. So he did a good job of not making a bad play worse. So.
Yeah, he had a good play. Y'all like to run the halfback pass out to him. Yeah. And usually y'all run it kind of midfield or further back, but y'all right on the goal line and ended up running it for a touchdown this week.
Yeah, that's a great play for us, just because he's so dangerous on the edge that the corners and the safeties, they have to come up and help. Toss is such a big play at this level. Any kind of play where you're trying to get to the edge, if you don't get help from the secondary, it's a big play. So knowing that, when we toss it to them, they're going to come flying up. And they did, and we just dump it right over the top to him. So it's a good play no matter where you're at. Once they take that step up, he knows just to get it over their head. And Cullen Evans made a phenomenal catch on it because it was a high catch back in the corner of the end zone. He went up and caught it with his hands, looked down, got a foot in. I mean, it was Cullen's been wonderful for us. So
yeah, he does really well at receiver. I know in the first couple of games it seemed like he got open a lot. It seemed like they were maybe able to lock him down a little more this week.
Yeah, they, and a lot of the routes that we were running, they were just staying deep, opposed to come running up. So that's why he wasn't open. He's our deep threat.
Okay.
And it's the hurry up at the end of the first half. The reason we were able to go down the field so easily is because their secondary just kept dropping back, making sure we didn't hit a big play. But there were 2 minutes left, and we only had to go 60 yards, so we just kept throwing 10-yard routes. And we threw one 6-yarder out to Brett, who he turns upfield. Next thing you know, it turns into a 20-yard play. And on top of that, there was a personal foul. So you take a 20-yard play plus 15. Now you're looking at a 35-yard play just like that.
Right.
Then we come inside the 20 with a minute to go, and we say, well, we're going to run jet one time, see if James can't get in. Because we're out of timeouts at the time. But we knew we had plenty of time to get back on the ball and run another play. So. But yeah, that's why Cullen wasn't open, because everybody was dropping. So when we ran the toss, they all came running at James, and he just dumped it over their heads.
So they were kind of giving y'all that short stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And with Parker, that's a bad idea. You got to take that away because that's what he throws so well.
Yeah.
And we're catching it well right now. We had one drop. Cullen did drop one little out route, which, that's why we give that play. We tell the teams, if you can throw that consistently, good luck. So because at this level, it's tough to make a good throw, to block and make sure and catch it every time. So, but no, we 3 games in a row we're over 100 yards in our passing game. So that's something really nice.
Especially when you want to be a run first team.
Right.
To have that to kind of break it up and maybe open it up just where they can't key in on that run.
Right. And and if they don't take away some of those runs with the penalties, we're looking at 400 yards of offense. 300 on the ground, 100 in the air. That's exactly what we're trying to get to. So.
The team y'all have coming up this week at home at the Den, Westwood, they won big last week, 54-0.
Right. Yeah.
Does that worry you a little bit?
Well, the team that they played, they were down. But anytime Westwood comes to town, you get worried because they're a team with great heritage, great tradition. Let's see, back in 2010, 2011, they were back-to-back state champions. Then played for it again, I think, in 2012. So, we were fortunate last year to go down there and beat them. We went down and beat them on their home field, which is a big deal. But they're going to have that in the back of their mind coming up this week. And, that you talk about a dangerous team. They got a quarterback that can go. He's probably 6'2", 6'3". He throws it well, and he runs it well. So you got that big old quarterback just sit back in the pocket with a big offensive line, and some really good receivers and really good running backs. I mean, they're a solid team. They're somebody that, it's like we talk about every week. If we don't come ready to play, you get embarrassed on your home field. So it's got to be something where we come out. And one thing about them is, it's kind of scary. They don't change what they do. If you go watch film on them from 5 years ago and then come watch film on them from last week, it's all the same, So that's scary from a coach's standpoint because they really like what they do, and they're really good at what they do. They're ins and outs. Like for us right now, when teams mix up their fronts and mix up their defense, it kind of confuses us. Well, it's not going to confuse them because they've been doing the same thing for 5 years and probably up through their elementary and middle school programs as well. So, it's something where what they do is not real complex, but it's really good. It's really solid, and you got to be prepared for everything. They got a great running game. They got two really good running backs. They got a bigger running back and a quicker running back, very similar to us. And then they got a quarterback that can sit back there and throw it. So they'll be in a 4-3 defensively with three very athletic linebackers. The one thing that we have seen in film is I don't know how good their secondary is. That's the one spot where teams have gone after them. So that's probably something that we'll look to do as well, especially with as high as we are on our throwing game right now. We'll look to attack their corners and see what happens. So if we hopefully if we can get out there and throw a little bit and back them up and keep them from blitzing too much, then that'll open up the running game and get both of them going. We're dangerous teams.
Are you worried you have an issue with that running game if you aren't successful in the passing game early on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we're going to be able to run the football. It's all about confidence. Sports are confidence. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And I'm hoping that this past week got our kids some confidence. Rushing for right at 200 yards, that should give our linemen and our running back some confidence. And when you go out and you play the game with confidence, you're a much better team. So if you start second guessing what you're doing, that's when you start getting in trouble. We did make a couple adjustments on the line last week. We moved some guys around, so we did miss some blocks. But it's the first time that they played that position. So that's something that we're going to tighten up this week and make sure everybody knows exactly where to go every play. And the fortunate thing is we've got guys on both sides of the line of scrimmage that know every position. So we got guys helping each other. So that's going to continue to help us. And like I said earlier, this team does not change what they do. They're going to be in a 4-3, and they're going to be in a 1-tech and a 5-tech and a 3-tech and a 9-tech, and that's just what they do. So we don't have to worry about them coming out. Next thing you know, they're in a goal line or they're in a 3-5 or change. They're not going to change their defense. They're going to do what they do, very similar to us. We know what they're going to be in. They know what we're going to be in. Now it's who's going to execute. So.
And you were saying y'all made some changes along the offensive line for y'all. Y'all also were a little better in your splits again this week.
Oh wow, absolutely. Yeah, they did a good job of widening them out. When you widen them out, it does make it a little easier for those linebackers to get through. But we did a good job of picking up some blitzes, and there was a couple times where we really turned some guys out on the offensive line and had a big hole to go to. And then there were also a couple times where we turned guys out and we had a big hole, but we were staring at two guys because somebody went to the wrong guy. So just little things that we got to keep improving on. But it's a victory, and it's a confidence builder, and now it's just the next step to getting ready for the late run.
Y'all think that confidence will carry over to the Westwood game?
Absolutely. I mean, it's got to. It's got to. You got to come fired up and ready to play anytime you play Westwood. Everybody in the state knows that. They're a football school. They've always been great, and if it's like I said earlier, if you don't come ready to play them, they will embarrass you, whether you're at their place or at your place. They know how to play the game. They play the game right. They play the game hard, and it's always a fun game when we play them because you get two gritty teams, two teams that are just going to claw and do whatever they can to win, and then you got a bunch of really good football players out there. They've got a bunch. We've got a bunch. So it's a fun game. It's going to be a fun game for the fans to watch. It's going to be a fun game to coach. And it's just this is the kind of game you really like in the GISA. You know, we play with what we have. They play with what they have, and you just go at it. Some years you win, some years you lose. So it's good.
And they're a AAA school
They're
too,
AAA.
right?
Yeah, this will be our 3 out of 4 AAA schools that we've played so far. So
Just testing yourself early.
yeah, it's
over
great.
and over.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. You know, I'm glad that we got the win to get the confidence going, and hopefully, you know, you go in and beat a team like Westwood. That's really doing something. So we had a big win this past Friday, but we're still missing that quality win. You know, if we would have gone out and beat Heritage or gone out and beat Trinity, that would have been a quality win. That's a win you really get excited about. You go out and beat Westwood, that's a win you really get excited about. So we're excited anytime we get a win, but there are quality wins that you really like to see your teams pull through and win. So.
We mentioned a couple of things, you know, having Murphy take some direct snaps, and then having Murphy and Williamson in the backfield. A couple new things y'all tried this week, the option run. Without giving too much away, new wrinkles this coming week too?
Well, you know, we really like what we got, so we're going to continue to get better at what we do. But, yeah, there are some things that we're going to do with we like Murphy taking the direct snap and putting a bunch of power in the backfield to block for him. And we like doing it with Brett too. You know, and then by doing that, you got James back there who can throw the ball 55 yards anytime he wants to, and now you got Parker and Cullen, which are 2 of our fastest guys, out on the edge. So if they want to pack in and stop us, all we got to do is drop back and bomb it and let those 2 kids go get it.
Just run. Just throw as far as they can, let them run
They'll
under
go
it.
get it. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a cool package that we like. And it's actually something we drew up at halftime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got in there and we were just kind of figuring out how can we move the ball on the ground. And like I said, we wanted to get the offensive line some confidence, get the running back some confidence. So we said, well, let's just put James at quarterback. Let's go power. Let's put some bigger guys in there, and let's just go run right at them and see if they can handle it. And then, you know, the first drive of the second half took 6 minutes off the clock. We didn't score because that's where we got down to the 5 and had the penalty, brought it back, got back down to the 5, had another penalty and brought it back. So we didn't score because of penalties, but we really liked the way we moved the ball. I mean, we moved the ball right down the field. We weren't in third down, but I think twice, and we put the ball in Parker's hands, ran a little pass. He dumped it off to James, got the first down once. The other time, we just powered to James, got the first down the other time. So it was something we really liked, and we've been thinking about it, and it was just something we said, let's get it on film right now and see how we like it. So.
Yeah, y'all did a really good job of winding that clock down in the third quarter. Like you said, you had the 6-minute drive. And so was that something y'all were trying to do, or is it something just worked out that way,
Well,
kind of shortening the game?
We want to be a running team for that reason. You know, if we get the lead, we want to have the discipline to drive the ball 70 yards, no penalties, no fumbles, no miscues. That's how you win big games. You know, this whole winning 60-0, that's great. But you don't win a big game like that. You don't win in the playoffs 60-0. Games in the playoffs are close. You know, region championship games are going to be close. So we got to make sure we're preparing these kids to go win close games. And that's one thing that you want to do is you want to be able to have that running game to where you can drive. You can go on a 75-yard drive when you need to, you know, or you know, just hold the clock. And even if you go, you know, 60 yards and don't score, but you take 5-6 minutes off the clock and you keep the ball away from the other team, that's huge. You know, we're going to play some teams later on in the year that got some explosive offenses, and we want to do our best to keep their offenses on the sideline. You know, so if we can put together a 6-7 minute drive and keep their offenses off, that's when you really take advantage of some of these teams, because some of these coaches, they want to score 100 points, and when they don't have the ball, it drives them crazy. So then when they do get the ball, they start doing crazy stuff, and next thing you know, you get the ball right back. But if you're trying to go score with some of these teams that want to score a lot, you're actually playing into their hand. You know, even if you're scoring, well, they're getting the ball right back and they're scoring too. So, you know, it's just we want to take care of the ball, and we want to make sure, you know, we can play smart. And when you can play smart and control the clock and have no miscues and you know, handle the ball, that's when you know your team's really clicking.
Right. When you're trying to go score for score with the teams that like to score, you're playing their football instead of playing your football.
Exactly. And we want to play just, you know, in the trenches football. That's we want to be a power team and go right at people. So.
Well, good luck this week, Coach Dare. Hopefully you can make it 2 in a row.
Hope so.
The game's this Friday, 7:30, against the Westwood Wildcats, at home at the Den. If you can't make it out, tune in live to Legends 1370 to catch all the Flint River football action. And make sure to join us every week as we sit down with head coach Josh Dare to review and preview all the Flint River football action. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for watching the Wildcats Football Coaches Show. Join Coach Dare and David Carden next week as they continue to review and preview all the Wildcats football games right here on Mountain Vision.
Let's go!
This is Mountain Vision.